The No Game No Life anime covered the first 3 volumes of the light novel, but there is much more to explore. And so, let's start delving into the content that the anime never got to, beginning with the prologue of Volume 4. Now, I will reiterate that the ending of the anime is different than what it was in the light novel. Instead of Sora and Shiro having the Shrine Maiden summon the old Deus, well, that doesn't happen until later. Instead, they stayed in Kanagari, in the capital of the Eastern Union, where they spent their time frolicking around and Sora enjoying his animal girl paradise. Meanwhile, Steph and Ino had been sent back to Elkia to sort out all the details of the Eastern Union coming under the umbrella of Elkia and creating the Commonwealth of Elkia. So currently we have Sora, Shiro, Jibril, and Izuna all staying at Izuna's place in the Eastern Federation. But before we continue with their story, Volume 4 actually begins with a bit of a fairy tale. It's only a page long, and it does seem like an odd start for the volume to kick off with, but it actually is pretty relevant for setting up what's to come later, or at least the circumstances surrounding what is to come later, so keep it in mind. The tale itself is quite a simple one. It tells of a princess with beauty beyond compare, and she desires something wondrous from anyone who would want to marry her. And so princes come from all around, bringing with them jewels beyond compare, wealth beyond imagination, and yet nothing moves the princess. All up until one prince, who seems a little bit different than the others, comes to greet her. He's shaggy and doesn't seem to have anything all too impressive, and he presents her with a small treasure, but it is something that the princess had never seen before. And upon seeing that, the reader of this story closes the book and exclaims, "That's it! That is true love!" And so she decided to go into a deep sleep until the man of her dreams would bring her that which represents true love. Now, the story itself is a fairy tale, but the person reading it, and the item that she desired, well, that is not a fairy tale. That is something that actually happened in the history of Disboard some 800 years ago. Something that no one on Disboard, none of the Ixseed, can't help but stifle a laugh at. And so that sets the stage for the next arc of No Game, No Life. But before we figure out what ends up happening with that fairy tale and how that relates to what is going to come next, we first have to see what is happening with our main protagonists, Sora, Shiro, Jibril, and Izuna in Kanagari. Everyone is asleep except for Sora, who is getting up to his degenerate ways with the things that he recorded on his iPad, but before he's able to make any progress on that front, he hears an unfamiliar voice, someone speaking up saying, "Excuse me," which scares the living crap out of him. And with a girlish shriek, he wakes up everyone else in the house. Shiro and Izuna tell him to shut up, and Jibril, hearing her master screech, appears out of thin air and asks, "Is it time to kill? Is it time for heads to roll?" As Jibril is constantly hungry for battle. None of them seeming to notice the other being in the room, except for Sora, who points and screams, "Who the hell are you?" At that point, everyone else takes notice. Even Jibril is surprised to see who else could approach her master and avoid her detection but a Dampier. Ixseed rank 12. As Jibril illuminated the room, a frail girl came into view, sitting in the corner. Clothes as black as night, hair a deep blue, the very visage that Sora imagined a vampire from his world would look like. Jibril then continues on, saying that the Dampier have a talent for scurrying around in the shadows, but, lucky for them, she has a talent for casting rays of light. Jibril had thought that they put their talent to good use and disappeared for good. Sora, still wincing at Jibril's sharp tongue, as her disdain for the other races is still as clear as day, is surprised when Izuna actually pipes up and backs up what Jibril said. Izuna claims that her grandfather, Ino, told her that the Dampier died out long ago. So it's not just that they're surprised to see a Dampier here, they're surprised to see a Dampier at all. And then Shiro quotes some of the information that she had memorized from the books that she had read. Ixseed rank 12. The Dampier a race that survives by sucking the blood, the soul, of other Ixseeds. But the Covenants, and that was all that Sora needed to hear to understand why everyone expected the Dhampir to be extinct. The Covenants prevent any of the Ixseed from injuring one another, without consent. And so Sora asks, so they need permission to feed, to drink blood from other people? Which is the case. And Jabril explains further that, if one is bitten by a Dhampir, of course Sora incorrectly assumes, oh, you become a vampire then. But no, that's not actually the case. Instead, if one is bitten by a Dhampir, they're simply just inflicted with an illness. And so, Jabril blatantly states that being bitten by a Dhampir is completely disadvantageous for the one being bitten. So as Sora puts it, they're just shitty vampires. There is nothing good to come from being bitten by a Dhampir, so of course, no one would give permission to be bitten by them. And yet, here lie a Dhampir on the floor before them, seemingly on death's door, asking to be saved. Sora completely dismisses her, though, saying, Jabril just said, if I let you bite me, I get a disease. Go ahead and die, dumbass. Which, as blunt as ever, but Jabril then says, oh, I'm sorry, I guess I didn't fully explain. Dhampir can only grow and develop by sucking blood through their fangs, mixing the souls of themselves and whoever it is that they bite, which also in turn causes the mixing of souls on their end, which causes the disease. But when it comes to just sustaining their life, well, other bodily fluids can be used for that purpose, which, of course, you can see exactly where Sora's mind would jump to, and indeed that is the case. So Sora runs to the girl's aid, saying, don't worry, lass, I'll save you. But Shiro puts a stop to that real quick, saying that there's other bodily fluids, like saliva, that could work, which Shiro then goes to donate to the Dhampir, but Sora puts a stop to that real quick, saying that that is harmful to the moral education of children, and so he needs to look for another solution. Izuna is far too young, Shiro is also a no, and so Sora turns to Jabril, which Jabril, as we know, will happily follow the orders of her masters. She says she would gladly kiss a Dhampir if her master ordered it, but she also advises, if your intent is to save her life, then I wouldn't recommend it, for Jabril's soul is much too potent. The container, the soul in which the Dhampir has, would not be able to absorb the soul that Jabril has, and it would surely cause her demise. Sora laments that Flugel are just overpowered and extreme in every extent, but that means he has to quickly come up with another solution to prevent his sister from kissing the Dhampir. And so, the solution he comes up with is sweat. Well, that's another bodily fluid, that must have soul in it. But Jabril does say that the amount of soul is the highest in blood, and of course the hierarchy being that sweat would be quite low in the amount of soul. But when that suggestion is made, Shiro has no hesitation in taking off her sock and telling the Dhampir to lick her feet, which is a little uncomfortable to say the least, but at least this entire exchange does go to show how the Dhampir operate, how they are able to survive, how they have been able to live this long, is surviving off of the sweat and the things that they are permitted to take from other races. The Dhampir wastes no time in starting to absorb Shiro's sweat, and is able to bounce back, finally able to make their formal request of the king and queen of Elkia, the ones who have been able to best a Flugel, to best an elf, to best even the entire race of Warbeast. And so this Dhampir gets on her knees and bows before Sora and Shiro, asking for their race to be saved. The race that can only grow and survive by sucking the blood of other Ixseed and inflicting everyone they bite with a disease. They are the ones asking to be saved, so you can only imagine what kind of situation, what kind of game would result from a request like this. It would be incredibly disadvantageous for anyone who accepted that kind of game in the world of Dispord. And Sora, without hesitation, denies the request. And this is where the prologue leaves off in regards to Sora, Shiro, Jabril, Izuna, and their new Dhampir friend named Plum. But this isn't where the prologue ends, instead shifting to another perspective, that of the Shrine Maiden. as she is sitting alone in her shrine on the bridge that we saw in the anime, contemplating everything that just transpired with Sora and Shiro, how Warbeast was bested, and, most importantly, the declarations that Sora had made about wanting to take on Tet. She sits there and conjures the race piece in her hand, the symbol of her entire race, the little thing that means everything, the little thing that caused her to give up her dream. She had initially held the same dream that Sora and Shiro so confidently declare. She had spent over half a century uniting all of Warbeast, a task that had thought to be impossible, even to the extent of giving up her own name. She had sacrificed everything to accomplish this goal, and she did it. She was able to bring all of the warring tribes together under one banner to create the third largest nation in the world, and she did have the ambition to go further. But she abandoned that dream. She felt it was not possible. Theoretically, in a world where everything is decided by games, it should be possible, but she could not achieve it. And so she wanted to wait and see, to observe Sora and Shiro, what actions they would take to achieve that goal, before she revealed her entire hand, meaning that she hadn't told them everything just yet. But of course, the anime has kind of spoiled that, the connection to the old Deus, among other things. At this point in the story, Sora and Shiro don't know that just yet. The Shrine Maiden is holding that information back, waiting to see what Sora and Shiro will accomplish, waiting to see if she can actually trust them, to see if they actually have a chance at accomplishing the dream that she gave up. And with that, the prologue to the next arc of No Game No Life comes to a close, establishing a few key points that will be crucial for the story to come. The Shrine Maiden is watching Sora and Shiro, holding back her cards, a few pieces on the board, waiting to see what they will accomplish, to make sure that she can truly trust her allies with what she possesses. At the same time, we are also introduced to the next key race on Disboard, rank number 12, the Dampier, and the member that came to greet Sora and Shiro, the Dampier named Plum. And we learn how the Dampier are actually able to survive, how they function, that they feed off of the blood of other Ixseeds, and by mixing that blood with their own, that soul that they absorb from other Ixseeds, they are able to grow and mature, but can survive off of other bodily fluids, which, you know, needing blood is also why they are thought to be extinct by many other races on Disboard, because, well, no one is going to willingly give their blood to the Dampier. It is forbidden by the covenants for them to cause injury to another, and so they need permission. But the Dampier, if they bite someone, they are afflicted with an illness, a disease that is permanent, and so no one would willingly give that permission. But yet, a Dampier is here, and it sets up them needing to be saved. Of course, Sora has dismissed the Dampier outright. That being said, though, given that Sora's overall goal is to bring all 16 races of the Ixseed together to face Tet, we know that that's not actually going to be the case. If he lets one of the races fall, that's one of the 16 pieces he needs to challenge Tet, and now the game is not even able to be issued, let alone won. So, the Dampier will need to be saved. That is the next arc that we will embark on, and that fairy tale at the beginning, the 800-year slumber of someone reading a fairy tale, hoping that that treasure will be theirs one day, that someone will bring them something that they have never seen. That also comes into play later on. So look forward to that in future videos as we delve into Volume 4 of No Game No Life, beyond what the anime covered. Let me know down in the comments below of this prologue that sets up the events to come in the future. How do you think things will unfold? If you've read the light novel, don't spoil it for other people, but what did you think of it when you first read it? If you guys enjoyed this video, want to see more like it, want to see more No Game No Life content, make sure to subscribe to the Daily Flugel. And if you want to see some games played live, I also stream on Twitch every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and would love to see you there. But with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Ashente.